Welcome back to Clicks and Coffee. Today, I'm delighted to introduce Joe Signore, the president of Tapestry Senior Living, a distinguished organization offering assisted living, enhanced senior living, and memory care services across multiple U.S. states. With over 25 years of leadership experience in the senior housing sector, Joe has been instrumental in shaping Tapestry's commitment to personalized, resident-centered care. His active involvement with Leading Age Minnesota, including serving on the Public Policy Committee, has been pivotal in navigating significant legislative changes affecting senior living operators in the state. Joe's unique blend of operational expertise and sales acumen has fostered a culture of innovation and excellence with Tapestry. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Alexander. It's an honor to be here with you.
All right. So, with this great intro, one of the things that I'm always curious is what initially drew you to this field, and how has your journey evolved over the years?
My journey started actually. I had a career in hotel management for about 10 to 11 years prior to coming on with senior living, and had a brief job in the hotel division for Marriott, and then Marriott started their senior living division, and I was fortunate enough to be able to join one of their acquisitions, National Guest Homes, and then was able to start with a senior living product from the ground up, basically, that had 7 properties, and by the end of 2 years, we opened up 33. And that's where my journey began. I was in the at the time we called it admissions, but it was actually the sales position to fill communities with prospective residents.
So you really got the full spectrum of how to manage senior living right off the bat. And so one of the things that and maybe you can tell us a little bit more, but one of the things that I noticed that's very important with Tapestry is that you really emphasize the resident-centered care. Can you share specifics of specific initiative that really mean, what does that really mean, resident-centered care?
So our communities are all unique in their own right, but what we do is having communities in multiple states and actually in different areas of the country. There's obviously different cultures in different areas. So resident-centered care to us means being with the resident at that time at their place, which ties to our memory care program, Golden Threads. Which is a validation-based program that allows us to be in the residents' current space rather than orienting them to our space, but then also carrying that mindset over to where the residents are in assisted living or in what we call enhanced living or independent living, to be able to use the regional area culture and be able to build from there. So, for instance, our dining programs are unique in the fact that we can do a full dining experience with a lot of the same structures and a lot of the same standards, but the cuisine could be vastly different in our Florida community than what it might be in our Minnesota community because the tastes are different. But the services and the standards, those policies are the same and standard throughout the company.
So it's wow, it's really it's a national company, but with really local, I would say, ideas and processes, which is really really nice, because I didn't hear that many people hearing and then really trying to say, okay, in Florida, what do they like, what do they don't like, and then adapt that to them. That is pretty neat. And one of the things that I know we were just talking before the recording is that from a long time, Tapestry is very focused on technology. And I know, talking to a lot of people about technology, everybody is a little reticent, like a little hesitating about technology. Even though it's there and we should use it to make it better, I would say a better place for people and really helping also operators. So what is your take on new technologies, and what are your plans, if whatever you can tell us about technologies? Because I love technologies. I talked to a bunch of companies that starting technologies in the senior living, and it's pretty mind-blowing what is coming and what can be done for operation as well as like resident care.
Well, thanks, Alexander. It's a great question. And actually, let me back you up just a second. We have really embraced technology, and really, for that matter, AI, artificial intelligence, really over the past probably 8 months. Prior to that, I was definitely one of the leaders and populace of reticence and anxiety, to be honest. And I think part of that is because of well, I'll just use it. I'm a Generation X, and I think I've said this on other panels. Our first experience with artificial intelligence was the movie Terminator, and it didn't turn out well for us. And so, but as we've moved and as we've grown, what I have found is artificial intelligence is not anything we're going to be able to get away from. So what I and our team have done is to develop kind of work groups, if you will, to pilot different programs, to be able to find those that can actually enhance our work and enhance our serving of our residents, but not in any way, shape, or form change the mindset that artificial intelligence is going to, or technology for that matter, is going to replace the human aspect of what we do. I firmly believe there is a place for both. And what I see is that the technology piece and the artificial intelligence piece is more suited to be a enhancement supplement to help with better efficiencies, but not take the place of the true human interaction that our seniors truly need, and actually post-pandemic are craving. They're all coming out of loneliness. We all are. We're all coming out of that isolation feeling. And to say that a robot in a dining room in place of a server is going to help them with those feelings is totally false. But what we can see is that by having those robots, or by having those additional technologies available to us, we can cover more area with our actual employees, if you will, to be able to have those interactions, and maybe have longer interactions, because some of the behind the scenes things are being handled through artificial intelligence. The biggest piece that I see right now, and I think the piece that I have really that I personally have grasped onto, and our company is starting to move down, is the artificial intelligence to be able to do behavior predictability based on experience movement, based on monitoring, and there are several companies that we have vetted and have worked through, and we've identified a couple of really good partners. And I believe what we're going to start to see is, by instituting these monitoring systems, by working with the software and with the technology systems, we will see an efficiency in terms of our anticipations based on behaviors. We're going to be able to care for probably more individuals with maybe more complex modalities. But then on top of that, I also believe that with these additional monitoring programs and so on, that we can then go back to our risk insurers and so on, and say, based on these numbers, based on these KPIs, our premiums need to be reflective of that. Because right now, there are programs out there right now that after the monitoring is in place, it's got the proven KPI and the proven records that we have been able to anticipate something that we didn't necessarily see before, whether it's based off of movement, whether it's based off of just straight, change in, I call it change in elevation. If they have a monitoring bracelet that all of a sudden they see that it's at a standard baseline, but all of a sudden there's a drastic change, that indicates to us immediately that there might have been something to check on. We check on and we find that resident on the floor. We might find them 10, 15 minutes sooner than if we waited for a pending call or what have you. So these are things that help us just become better, but at no time will the belief in our company, or should I believe the belief in our industry, be that we will become so technology based that there'll never be any room for human interaction and that it would replace human interaction. Human interaction has no replacement. And
That
that's why our theory with our theory is very simple. Our theory is very simple. We take care of our employees and our staff so that they feel happy, to take care of our residents so that they feel happy, and allows us to be financially stable. It is very simple. And those are the three premises in the three-legged stool. But it all starts with employee engagement, and it all starts with taking care of them. And these tools are strictly another way to help them do their job better, but not to replace them.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you said. And to me, that's exactly why we should use technology, is to enhance the service, make it
Right.
better. And as you said, really use the AI not to replace the human interaction, but to replace like kind of a bit the grunt work, the annoying work, where AI can totally take care of that better than people, probably, so that people have more time to interact with residents. Like that, to me, the way I'm seeing technology, and I hope it's going to go in that, in that direction, because that's exactly how I see things. Exactly like you said, is just to help enhance. And the monitoring, I love the idea. I was even thinking with video monitoring, you can, monitor each resident and really see, at least in the common areas, if there is a problem anywhere. And as you said, like really being able to tend to the people like much faster. So
Exactly. And that's it. It's all about anticipation of the residents' needs, and to be able to react timely rather than being reactive. We're trying to be more proactive. And I think that's the key. And the more we can do that, the better we are. And I hope everybody embraces it at some point and can find a way for it to work for them. I mean, there's going to be certain programs out there that we look at that's just not going to be a fit for us, but it could work in another area that maybe it's not our focus, but somebody else's. So I think it's a broad area that is going to just make our services that much better.
yeah, no, I'm very, very excited. Very excited with what's coming online, what people are testing, and to see how it's going to pan out, I would say. But with people like you, I feel better. I feel better knowing that we have visionaries like you that really see it for what it should be. It should be seen. And so you were talking about being proactive, and we know a couple of years ago, we got a little event in the world that kind of took everybody by surprise. So how did Tapestry adapted to, I would say, like this crazy event, and what are the strategies that are being putting in place, as you said, to be more proactive, when things happen?
So we were affected. We were affected no worse or no better than anyone else. All of our communities were affected one way or another. Some more than others. Some were in more what I would call the hotbeds. A couple of our communities kind of weathered it a little bit better, but had longer term effects, I would say. So, but what we found was that by going back, what it did for us is it allowed us to look more internally and to see what were some of the things we could have, what we do well, what we not do so great. And I think the first thing that we did that was, although albeit financially extremely difficult, we shut down our buildings probably faster than a good portion of our competitors. Our chief clinical officer, Terry Paulina, she made the decision almost, I believe that we stopped accepting residents close to a week before the national shutdown.
Wow.
And because she saw the dangers on the horizon. Now that's strictly because she's a doctor, she's medically based, and she had the information, and we would have had probably worse situations than that occurred. Now, financially, that hurt us very, very poorly, because we also had 3 buildings that were within the first year of lease up from opening, and we stopped our revenue streams. And then so on. So, but we were able to weather through that, and we were able to take care of the residents that we had, keep them relatively safe. Obviously, there was no way to protect everybody from the virus. It spread like wildfire, and the staff for that matter. But by following our protocols and then taking the time to look internally and to put programs in place to measure our KPIs, not based off of, state regulated, universal precaution rules or things on that order. What could we do better? And what we found was we needed to put together more of a central supply ordering system for our universal precautions. We needed to have a better partner and look at some of our supply methods. Instead of having one GPO, we partnered with two so that we had better outlets to get more supplies as needed. And we put ourselves in a position of being able to have a surplus of some of the items that others were struggling for, which then allowed us not to be selfish, but it allowed us to work with our neighbors, our competitors, and so on, in terms of if they were short, we were able to work together with them, or if we needed assistance, they did. So the one thing that I saw during the pandemic that was encouraging to me was competitors came together. We formed work groups, we formed committees, we did a lot of things. We experienced things that people can't imagine. If they weren't in our space, they didn't see it. Corporate offices, I believe, lost focus on what happened at the site levels. I believe they lost focus on what it was like for the stress levels for our individuals. We brought services to our site levels. We brought counseling services. We brought different things. Now, we're able to do that as a small company. Everybody in every individual in our company has a name. We're not a number. We're not the large provider of 150 units. We don't have large corporate backing. It's just, at the time, we were 5 communities. All the executive directors were known all the way up to the president of the company, knew each other personally. And we were able to handle it as a family, not necessarily as a company. And I believe, although it hit us hard, and we're still recovering. We had to make some very difficult decisions over the past couple of years to get us in position to where we are today. But I will say this, every single executive director and almost 2/3 of our resident services directors at the site level not only withstood the stress of COVID, they're still with us today. And they all have said the same thing, because we treated them as family and we were there with them every step of the way. The turnover came, and the turnover came fast on the line because they were in and out of it all day long. But the site level leadership were the ones that really took the brunt of all of it. And I believe that we did. If there's one thing I'm most proud of, it is the fact that we provided them the service and the support from our side to make sure that they had what they needed, no matter cost, no matter how difficult it was to acquire what we needed. We did it, and it worked, and it's still working today. So this Tapestry will never be a company that will lose sight of the fact that the people that run the buildings are the reasons we are who we are, and that will always be our motto.
That's really moving to hear that, like, you made the hard decision of saying, okay, we're going to focus on people first, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure out the rest. So that is really something that is pretty impressive and nice to hear. And so that I would say that crisis made Tapestry even more resilient now, and so now you have redundancy, and hopefully there will nothing happen, but at least you're prepared. It's always like, hope for the best and prepare for the worst now. So I was also, noting that Tapestry is pretty active on social media, pretty active on marketing. How do you, I would say, look at resident acquisition, and how do you look at the image that you give to Tapestry? Because talking the way you're talking, it's no-brainer to come at your communities, but you cannot talk to everybody all the time. So how do you, I would say, how do you market really this, I would say, angle and image of Tapestry through people looking for a residence?
Well, as a president of a company, the first thing I had to learn was I don't know everything, and I had to identify what I didn't feel comfortable in. Social media, um, marketing, those areas. Although I was in a sales position when I started, there was no real internet. I don't even think email had really started at that point. So my technology is very limited, and I would be the last person to consult on how to do a social media campaign. So what do? We bring on a social media manager. We bring on a vice president of sales and marketing that has experience in all those areas and has the expertise to know what is needed to help us grow and meet our targets, and they do a great job with that. And then forming the partnerships with the vendors and with the individuals to make sure that our message is clear. We're still not perfect, Alexander. We have a website that I believe is now starting to show its age. We're in the midst of upgrading that. We have some things that we're looking at from a digital footprint that we are looking to make changes on, which will be coming over the next probably 4 to 5 months. However, that being said, that also ties to how do the residents choose us over the competitor? The one thing, as I talked about earlier, was employee engagement. All of our buildings, if you were to look at our buildings, the competitors' buildings, all the communities, brick and mortar is brick and mortar. And I've said this time and time again, brick and mortar is exactly the same. We all have beautiful dining rooms. We all have all the things. However, the one thing that I think that stands out is I believe that we have a staff that is engaged. I believe that we have a staff that truly meets the residents in their space and have grasped onto our culture with that. And so often I get the letters or I get notes at my desk that say thank you for the care that such and such gave, or the care we got at Tapestry Springboro was beyond what we ever comprehended. The other piece is that as a company, we have now moved more towards a middle market type growth. And what I mean by middle market is we believe that our services should be affordable for everybody. So we have products that are phenomenal for service, still cover assisted living, still cover memory care, but are covered in the under affordable living, so that we are now blessed with having communities that can serve 98% of the population.
Wow.
And not market to just the 2% that can afford $8,000 to $10,000 a month and still get the same quality care. Maybe the finishes aren't as pretty. Maybe they're not the Taj Mahals, but the communities are very clean. The communities look good. The finishes are appropriate and the numbers work. And we have been able to build on that footprint. We've built partnerships with individuals and developers that also have that same belief. And a majority of our growth will be over the next few years through affordable, what's called LIHTC, low income housing tax credit, and or middle market, lower income required assisted living and memory care and independent living, because that's what the need is. The pandemic hurt people not only emotionally and not only physically, it hurt people financially. People's retirements are not what they were. The economy today, with inflation and with so many different variables, people's money is not going to go as far. And these programs are allowing us to build still. They're allowing us to meet the need for various different markets. Some are better than others. And to be able to carry people all the way through their end of life, even if they go on Medicaid. Every one of my communities has a Medicaid contract. And we will never, it is not our theory, or unless there's just no other way, we just can't meet the need. Finance will not be something that we take into account for someone who's been with us for, a period of time, whether it's a month, a year, 2 years, 10 years, that they should not be able to stay in their home until their last day, if possible. And that's our belief.
Wow, that is great, because that is, the two big topics is really technology and affordability. So this is great that you're working on this, and that's a big problem that I'm noticing from a lot of I would say the people that I interviewed are more in the placement part of the business. That they're saying it's like it's hard to find good places that people can afford, because as you said, a lot of the time we're talking six, seven, eight, $10,000 a month, and for some people it's out of the question. So it's really trying to figure out
Well,
the
we
community.
have a community. We have a community in Springboro, Ohio, and I'm gonna brag about this community. Tapestry
Please.
Springboro is a 118 unit assisted living community that opened in July of 2019. And it is a LIHTC community. It's a low income housing tax credit. That community, even through the pandemic, met every single loan covenant, met every single financial hurdle that we had to come through. And there are certain things on those types of notes, that covenants, that you have to meet through the first year of lease up, through different areas of debt, and so on. And it did it. It has now averaged 98% occupancy with a wait list for over 3 years. We celebrated its 5th anniversary in July. It was a huge success, and it is considered a low-income housing tax credit. You walk into that community and it looks better than the 3 market rate competitors that are around it. It has life. It has individuals that because they know that they're in the right place. Now, it is limited in their scope. It does not have a memory care component. So when we do lose individuals, it's because we can't meet their needs. And it's the only time in my career that I've had to tell someone, you make too much money to live here. And they actually get disappointed, but it's the truth. Because it's based off of the average monthly income index, and and it also allows us then to have about a 40% population of Medicaid. And we've done such a great job with Medicaid that the largest managed care provider for Medicaid in the area has formed a partnership with us that we've been on now for going on our 4th year, that they have reimbursed us almost 40% per day more than what the state Medicaid reimbursement is at, because we've been able to introduce some technologies and some programs to meet KPIs to help them keep their individuals out of rehospitalization, out of long-term care facilities such as skilled nursing facilities. So they have been paying us higher than what the state reimbursement is in Ohio for the past 3 years, and has allowed us to look at various different programs. We are just about to finalize a behavioral, not a behavioral, but a behavior predictability program, monitoring program that will go into every single unit, which will just enhance, as we talked about earlier, which will just enhance our anticipation of need, and to be able to even increase those KPIs even further on. And we've also seen a deduction in our liability insurance because of these programs and because of these partnerships. It's always been my belief that if we provide the best care, money will take care of itself. But the other piece is that we are very selective on the partners that we choose, and we do a large vetting, and that has been key, is making sure that we've done the right vetting and we put the right products in the right community. As I talked about earlier, it's not one size fits all. I have multiple different products that do the same thing, but because they do a better job locally or regionally, we've gone with other providers, not as a whole, because we found that the service is better for that single specific community, rather than if we were to say this needs to go into all of our communities. So we still keep that individualization for each site.
No, that's amazing, and now we have the proof that when you're being proactive, as you would say, and that goes for anything, and even for regular health insurance, where some insurance companies are trying to provide people with Apple Watch, and as long as you do this and that, we can lower your cost. And now we see that it's working, and we have the living proof that doing the right thing is working. It's not just a theory. It's really is really the proof. And I don't know if you can or if you want, but can you? I would love to know a little bit about that monitoring system that you were talking about, because it's truly what should be implemented in
Well,
every senior living community.
as much as I would love to share the information with you, Alexander, we haven't inked our final contracts and
Okay.
started the process. But I'll make you this promise. The moment that that happens, I will let you know, and I will have the founder of that company and myself come on and have a conversation in terms of how we decided to join forces.
No, super. That's I think that's very, very exciting to have this, and to me, it's going to be one of the biggest part of being proactive and enhancing service, enhancing response, and lowering cost for operators as well. So that's where technology, that's where we want technology to go, not the
Right.
not on the dark side, that's the good things.
Right.
And so I was reading also that you are a big sports guy, and so how being so involved into sports influence your leadership style and approach to team building at Tapestry.
Well, I did. I played sports my whole life growing up. I won't go into it now. I'm way too old to relive those days. But the what I would say is that the one thing I learned about sports is competitiveness is not a bad thing. Competitiveness builds strength. It builds character. But when you're and I play golf now, which is really me against the course, not necessarily against the other players. And it's myself. But playing team sports such as football, or I played baseball. I'll be it very briefly and not very well in terms of baseball. But the thing that I learned the most was that with a team, if one person misses their assignment, the whole team fails.
Yeah.
And so to be able to take that mentality and to be able to build that around the company, it takes a team. We are only, as a company, as strong as our least supervised employee on our least supervised shift. And so, or by our weakest employee on our least supervised shift, for that matter. So if you take the person who needs the most training, and you take the person who has a huge hill to climb, we're not saying they're not capable. We're not saying that they won't be the best employee we have. We're saying the worst thing we can do is put them into a position where they are under the least amount of supervision and have to feel that they're flailing on their own. We have a different approach. We take our strongest employees and we take our strongest people and we put them into the most stressful positions, because we know that they have the experience and the know-how, and they also have the ability to make a decision knowing that they may not get the answer back immediately. They know, but we trust them enough to make what decisions they have to make. And so we've instituted different types of programs for that. We have a triage program for our nursing department that we're launching now, to where we have actual RNs that only work on call through the evenings, licensed in every state we operate in. And our team only has to call one phone number. Doesn't matter who the
Mm,
nurse is on the other line, and it doesn't matter where that nurse lives. That allows us to have our nursing supervisors at the sites to be able to sleep through the night. They then get a full report in the morning. These are all things that we've put in place to support that least supervised shift. And the other thing that we try to do is not put the newest individual or the least experienced individual on those shifts. And of course, that's typically your third shift, right? That's typically your overnight shift, because the common belief is everyone's sleeping. Well, I can tell you, in my career, I've had a lot of things that I don't like to talk about that have occurred when everybody was sleeping. So that doesn't always happen to be the case. So so that's been something that has been an overall mantra for us. And it's taken a long time to put into place, and it's not 100% there yet. We have the triage in some buildings, not in all, but ultimately I anticipate that that program will be up and running by the end of this year, and will be a long-term program for us, going no matter how big or how whatever size I decide to bring this company to. It will always be a program we will have.
wow, that's That's really cool. I really love all the I would say innovation that you bring to the business, and sounds to me that you should write a book about about that.
I've been asked that a couple of times. I just don't know how to start. I can talk. I don't know, putting the words on paper or typing it into a screen, they never seem to come out the way I think they do. So I just talk.
But you have people that do that, that help you write book, ghost writers. So basically, you talk to them, and then they help you put it in words.
That is
So,
true. That is true. I'll look
but
into that when I have some free time.
if you do that, I'll be the first one to read, because I
I appreciate
really
that.
enjoy this conversation, and really like where you want to take your company, what you think about the industry, and where you think people should be, because not everybody has your mindset and vision, which is great. And I think we should really push people to have the same vision as you for technology, which is not to replace, but to enhance operations, so that way people have more time for human connection, because that is the most important thing in senior living, is the human connection. A lot of the time, people are lonely, and that's part of the reason also that they want to move to a community, is to be with other people, and know that they have people helping, or people to interact with. So,
Correct.
big thing. So, Joe, it was a true pleasure having you. Really love everything we discussed, your vision on things. Really impressed with all of your communities, and what you know, were able to achieve for every income level. And I really wish Tapestry the best in the future. And I know that it's going to be very exciting now, because it's more and more. So it's you have a lot of work, I would say, ahead of you for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I thank you, Alexander. That's very kind, and I agree. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be fun work now. Now we get to do some of the fun stuff, which is now that the pandemic is pretty much behind us. Some of those tribulations are over, and we're able to really focus now on our residents and on our employees, and bringing some great programs into our community. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of 25 and what 26, 27, and well into the future brings us.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.